Lately I've been thinking about this life and how it brought me here. Staring at this man in the mirror, I see him often. He'll wipe my tears. Only if you knew what I was going through. Only if you walked it in my shoes. Certain things don't like to talk about, but I'll always remember. The chaos in my mind turned my heart out in November. I'm surrounded by too many doors, not sure which way I entered. But I'm rocking with my loved ones, let you know that front and center.
Welcome back to the Message is Hope podcast, where the hope stands for hearing other people's experience. My name is Adam.
My name is Mike, and today we have Mario L. here in the studio.
Hey, everyone.
So I've known Mario for about 5 years now, right? I was here when he first got clean. We have a pretty intimate relationship, pretty close, and we're excited to have you here.
I met you about a year and a half ago, right?
Yes.
And every time I see you, it's like entertaining, to say the least.
Yeah.
That's why we wanted to have you on here, because you have a good story. I think it can bring a lot of people hope. And so tell us a little bit about yourself, Mario.
Well, first off, thank you for having me.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Mario again. And, I grew up, I was born into a family of 6 sisters. I'm the only boy. My childhood that I could remember was always, it was rough, but I remember always being pushed away by my family members because I always wanted to be in the middle of my mom's legs. Like, I didn't want to play with the boys, or I didn't want to play with the girls. I always wanted to be sitting in my mom's legs while they were talking, like with the adults talking. And I remember, my uncles like pushing me out to go and play with the kids, and I would cry. And I got good at crying louder because they would leave me alone, right? And I remember this because like I didn't want to be that kind of kid at that time, And so I would cry louder, and they would just leave me alone, and I would go run back in between my mom's legs. And then growing up getting older, I started to see my other cousins like go to like Six Flags or even play basketball or like football. And I wanted to join, but I just didn't know how to like ask to go. So I was about 9 years old when I think it was on a Thanksgiving when I asked to play football. And I was shocked because to everyone, they thought it was like a wonderful idea that I asked to play, right?
Yeah.
And so I went out to the street, and they wanted to play this game called Smear the Queer. And so I was like, well, who's the queer? Right? But not knowing that, I don't know if I was gay or what I was at that time. I just knew I act really feminine. And so I asked, well, who's the queer? And, how do we smear the queer? And, it turns to find out I was a queer, and, because of what they seen how I act. And so you throw the ball, and the queer gets it, and you guys all tackle, all the guys tackle the queer.
Right.
And I thought it was fun. So I felt a part of, because they always wanted to play Smear the Queer. And it got old later on in time, but then the years came, and, they got meaner, and I think I got more, I was more smart about it. Then after I got older, and, just going out with my uncles and asking if I could do things with them, it just turned, they just said I couldn't go. And
How old is older, and what were you
I was
going?
so I was 11, 12 years old, and I remember them taking a trip to Arizona, all the guys, and I wanted to go, and they didn't allow me to go.
So, and you feel like it was because you were different, right?
Yeah, I felt like I was different all the time.
Because you have like a certain appearance, right? When people look at you, they're not like, oh, this dude's gay.
Wait, did I mention at this time I was like really fat and
Okay. You didn't mention that at all.
Well, I was a big boy, and I always had a bag of chips in my hand.
Okay.
And I this is what I was at this age, and I was always bigger, so I was always taking more space. So there was no space, and that's what I got from the people when I used to ask. But it was, my mom. That's when there was this water park called Pharaoh's Last Kingdom, and my mom felt so bad for me that day that she bought me a season pass for Pharaoh's Last Kingdom. And she took me to Pharaoh's Last Kingdom, and so many days, so a lot of times after that, like she would just drop me off in the morning and don't pick me up till late at night. And
Yeah, it used to be like that. I remember going there too.
it was fun for a little bit.
Dropped off. I wanted to ask you about Smear the Queer because I played that when I was a kid, and it always rotated who the queer was. And I don't think when we played that we even knew what a queer was.
No,
But
I didn't.
Do you think the kids you were playing with knew that
Oh yeah, they were way older
they
than
knew
me.
it? Oh, okay.
Like my oldest
And they picked you to be that on purpose.
Yeah, again going back because I was a big boy. Yeah.
Easy to catch, hard to tackle.
Yeah, for real.
Sounds fun.
And I got smart afterwards. I would try to fight back, but it was something that got boring to me fast.
Okay. All right. So, like, you not being able to go on the guys trip and stuff like that, do you feel like that was like made you feel indifferent or separate from the rest?
Very.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you kind of always been a little flamboyant since you were young.
I can say a lot
Okay.
flamboyant. Like I was always a flamboyant.
Yeah.
Not even knowing that I was, gay. Or I just was in touch with my feminine side, as I used to say.
Yeah. Well, because, what I was saying right earlier was you don't, like, if you look at you, right, you see the tattoos on the face, right? You're a big guy. You're not a little guy, right?
Yes.
And I'm not talking about, like, big, like, wide. I'm talking about, like, tall, right? And people don't even know that you're gay, right? But then you open up your mouth and it's like,
Yeah.
So yeah. So I was just wondering about that, like if that made you feel different, separate.
It did at the time because I was a young kid and I was just trying to be a part of.
Right.
And other people seen that I wasn't like them. I was different. And I felt like because I was different, I was treated different, even in school.
I was going to ask you about that. How was your experience in school?
I was a very good kid. I was always involved with extracurriculum. I had a lot of awards.
Awards for what, like academic?
Okay. And just being like, I was in the, it was called Self-Esteem Club. And you would go out, if you seen other kids not being playing with other kids, you would go and invite them and play with them. And we had our own little toy box where if you seen a kid, you go grab the newest ball or the newest, you never got to pick out of the old toy box. So I felt like it was a big deal for me.
That kind of fits into your personality for sure, bro.
They knew. And it was
I
something
see you do that now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
and then you get mad at them and then
I take the toys out. I'm working on it. No, and then I was on the painters club, and so I was in 4th grade, and and this is something big for me because I helped paint the wall. It was the handball wall, and my name was put there was the picture was of 2 books with a globe, the globe. Those, I forgot what they're called.
A globe.
A globe,
Yeah.
and it was on 2 books. And so on one of the books, the author was my name because I helped paint it. And I always think about it all the time. I wonder if it's still there because I don't have time to go look to see if it's there.
What city was this in?
It's in San Bernardino.
Okay.
It is at my elementary school. And it has my name, Mario Lopez. So I don't know if I was supposed to say that. So Mario Lopez. And I remember 8th grade, 9th grade is the last time I seen it. So I always think that's really cool. And yeah, so
what was it like for you adjusting to some of the higher grades, right? Because, my experience is I was academically decent in elementary, and then in middle school, it just somewhere along the line, I just kind of fell off, right? And I think because for me personally, I feel like in middle school is kind of when you start to find yourself, right? You start hanging out with like certain groups, like the taggers, the skaters, the gangsters, like whatever group of, now it's like emo and I don't know what else they got now. My kids come home anyways.
Right.
Right. But my point is that I feel like middle school is like that time when you start to find out who you really are or who you want to become. And you kind of start to handpick your friends and who you want to associate with.
Right. Well, I think I've always was like that type of person to be in every circle. Like I had black
Makes
friends,
sense.
white friends, Cambodians. And I say Cambodians because they were my neighbors and like those were my friends. Like they backed me up and I backed them up. And so I always, the Cambodians and, black people. So like adjusting to like the higher grades, of course, you had those people who were mean, and I rode the bus, and so like when you have extra time to stand at a bus stop before school, or not extra time, or when you're standing at a bus stop with a bunch of bad kids from a bad neighborhood, like things are gonna happen, right? Yeah. I don't want to say that I was a victim of anything or whatever because I was a willing participant in some of the fights, and I carried a bag and people would call it my purse and I would get mad because it was just a book bag, but people would call it my purse and I'd be the first one hitting people with that bag because I would get mad because I'm like, this is not a purse. And then like I would hit them and then get suspended or have to sit in the front of the bus. But like adjusting to in middle school was no problem for me. It's when I was going to high school. High school, I was afraid because I was going further away from home, and I was by myself because the friends I had that were going to that school moved away, and so there was like a barrier. Like if you lived on this side of the street, you're going to one side. You're going to the new school, and then if you lived on this street, you're going to the older school in Redlands, and so I was by myself.
Right.
And I just showed up to the first day of school, and I was a freshman in 2004, and that's where it took off, and that's where I go back to my addiction. Didn't know that I had an addiction problem, but because everybody else was doing it, but the academic part, I was a good kid. And I always hung out with the older kids.
So what was the start for you?
Smoking cigarettes.
Okay.
So we started smoking cigarettes, and my friend was the one who. So I want to say that I went to Redlands High School, and it's like white people, and I'm not racist. It was just majority of white people.
You looked at me when he said that.
No.
And half of me.
Well, and majority of the students are white, and they, come from money or have money. And one of the girls, her dad smoked cigarettes, and she always had cigarettes, like always. Now, what I know now is that she had the good cigarettes at that. And so what I know now is that like she had her dad must have. He had the good cigarettes, and she would bring them all the time and always had them. And so we would, like, our campus wasn't closed off at this time because now it's closed off. But she would bring cigarettes, and we would just smoke like 10 cigarettes. And then later on in like the week, I'd be craving cigarettes because we would smoke it all from Monday to Friday. And when Friday would come, we wouldn't have any more cigarettes, or the weekend would come. And I knew I was addicted because I would be craving the cigarettes, or trying to find other people who had them. So it was a big deal. Cigarettes were a big deal in high school, my first couple years. And then I joined the cosmetology club, and there was older girls there. So our school was the only school that had cosmetology. And so other kids from other schools would come to our school and take the course. And that's where I met older girls, and I smoked weed for the first time.
What grade were you in?
I was in 11th grade.
11th grade?
11th grade.
Wow.
I was in 9th grade.
Started late.
I know.
Or were you the only boy in the class?
No, there was other people there.
Okay.
But before that, I was going to talk about. Everybody was drinking. Alcohol wasn't my thing. Everybody would drink, but I wouldn't like really drink. But when I did take the first hit of weed, I don't know what happened. I blacked out. It was weird. I blacked out, and I told my friend, "Oh my gosh, something's wrong." After like waking up, like I was really like numb, and she was like, "Just eat these," and I'm like, and she gave me Starburst. And I ate the whole pack of Starburst, and I felt fine after that. So I remember, like, Starburst, I don't even eat Starburst anymore. Like, it just reminds me of the day that when I smoked that weed, how I, like, blacked out and then ate these Starburst and woke back up, like, fine. It's weird. But then I stopped going to that cosmetology club because I hung out with them and I just wanted to smoke weed. I didn't finish cosmetology school, and I continued smoking weed. Had hiccups up and down from my 12th grade, and I almost not graduated. Like it scared me. My mom didn't care because my mom worked a lot, so like she didn't care that if I graduated or not. They would call her, she wouldn't answer. So she really didn't care about if I graduated or not, but I knew that that's what I wanted to do because the other kids were doing it. And so by the end of the year, I like rushed to finish like all the things that I missed from smoking weed. So I look back at that now and I know that weed was a big factor in that, but I graduated. And I surprised my whole family. And then a little bit after that, that's when my journey started with methamphetamine.
Okay.
Shortly after high school?
Like 2 months after.
Okay. How were you introduced to meth? I mean, was it something that was like, were you surrounded by it? Did a lot of people around you use meth? Was it like in your neighborhood? Was it in your house?
So what I know now is that I had addicts living with me. There was addicts that lived in my house, but I just didn't know what was going on because I was young. I was in school most of the time. I was doing extracurriculum stuff. I was in clubs and I was going to friends' houses. I didn't know that I did live with addicts. Okay. And so when I had graduated, I was home now. Like I would stay home. And my sister and her friend she's my stepsister and my real sister, were in the garage, and I went in there and I'm like, "What are you guys doing?" And I seen that they had a light bulb and a pin in their mouth, and they were like smoking, and it was just weird. And I was like, "What are you guys doing?" And they're like, "Do you want to smoke?" And I was like, "Smoke?" And I was like, okay. And then my sister was like, if you act crazy, if you act dumb, you're never going to smoke with us again. And so, like, she helped me the first time. And I, like, had to, if you ever smoked out of a light bulb and the pin in your mouth, you have to really be fast and whatever. And I literally, missed all of it. I literally missed all the smoke, and I wasn't able to suck. Like, I wasn't able to, hand-eye coordination kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And so I said, let me do it. And so then I had lit the light bulb by myself, and I, with direction, they were telling me to suck. I sucked, and I got my first hit. And like the chills that I got through the top of my head to the bottom of my feet, I was just in love instantly. And I said, can I take one more hit? Just give me one more hit. Like, let me hit it one more time. And so that's when I went to go take another hit. But this time, the straw that I had in my mouth, or the pin I had in my mouth, fell into the puddle of meth. And if I can tell you that I literally got choked out because I did that and messed up the meth, they were so mad at me. And so they took it from me, and they left, and I was there by myself high in a garage. And I wanted more. It's like I really wanted some more, and I didn't know where I was gonna find it or what it was called, to be honest. But I knew I needed more.
Wow. I think most of my story at least,
Yeah.
the first time eating some meth, somebody was holding it in my mouth,
Yeah.
twisting it for me, and it was in a garage.
Oh,
It's always in a garage.
why
Where
is
was yours,
that?
Adam?
I don't know.
You don't know?
You know what? I think for me, we were kids, right? And it was in high school, right? I was like 15 years old, maybe 14, and one of our friends used to sell dope, right? Sell meth, and so we were ditching school one day, right? And we had a little fucking weed pipe, and we put some weed in there, right? we put some meth on top of the weed, which is the first and only time I ever did that, right?
Yeah.
Wait, you put
And
meth on top
of the weed, and we smoked it. So I don't
Oh
even know if
my
it got me
God.
loaded. You know, of course, we're
Sure it
kids. We're kids, and we're all acting paranoid, right? Like the cops, and we start
Yeah.
running, you know. But I don't really. I remember I got high when I really started getting high off of meth was I was 15 years old, and they put me on probation, right? And they said you can't smoke weed because we're gonna drug test you once a month, right? It was for attempted GTA, right?
wow.
And so
At what age?
at 15,
Oh my gosh.
shut up,
Wow.
we're gonna hear your rap sheet a little bit. Right?
I've never did things like that.
And so it was very logical to me. You know, I think that I had already did meth at that point, but I wasn't doing it every day. But it was logical to me that meth's out of my system in 3 days, so I could do meth all month, and then at day 26 stop, right? And it all started because I couldn't smoke weed, right? Because weed was always my big vice. I mean, buying, back then this was like 20 years ago, right? I was.
Damn, you're old.
Yeah, I know. I was just a kid. This is before they even had
I'm not gonna say
chronic,
anything.
or they had anything they have nowadays. You know what I'm saying? I think all we had was stress and chronic. So I'd buy like an ounce of stress and like smoke it all in one night. Like I just loved weed. But then I started doing meth, and yeah, I fell in love with that too. Just kind of exactly what you're saying. I don't think I liked it the first time.
You weren't head over heels. the
No,
first time?
no, because it was like the come down always fucked me up. You know what I'm saying? But then I realized just don't come down. You know what I'm
True,
saying?
that's
You just
true,
stay
yeah.
high
I
and
get
you'll
what
be
you're
all
saying.
right. It's and that's like the logic. That's the best logic I can come up with. I'm on probation, so I'll just do meth,
Yeah.
right? And if I don't like to come down, then I just stay high,
Yeah.
right? All right.
So where did it start to get out of control?
Oh man. Well, not too long after. So afterwards, I went down the block, and the person that I would buy weed from with my friends, I said, "Well, do you know where you can get this? Where you can get meth?" And they were like, "What?" And so they knew my sisters, because I remember I have 6 sisters. So they knew my sisters, and when I asked for the meth, they said, "Oh, we're gonna tell your sisters." And I'm like, "Please don't, just please, like how are you gonna do that? Like that's messed up. Like you sell me weed." And that's when he said, "Okay, well I got you. How much do you need?" And I had like $5. And I was like, "Have 5." And to be honest, I really didn't know how to buy it. I know and I just said I have $5 because of how I bought the stress, right?
Right.
$5 was a lot.
Yeah.
And so he gave me $5, and I was right back within an hour. And I continued to get high for a long time in the garage. And I, being the only boy, and we lived in a 2-bedroom house, and I had 3 of my sisters there with 4 kids, and we were just all packed in. I had this idea. I pitched this idea to my mom that I should live in the garage. I said, "All right, we can make this garage my room," and
Then you'll be in on every smoking session.
well, so when they made this garage my room, it was just me. And it's crazy. Believe it or not, I was super high, and I made this garage my room. It was awesome, right? It was like cords running from the inside of the house to the garage, and it was cool. It got crazy because I decided. I don't know if you guys know anything about Craigslist. Are you
Been on
from
there once or twice.
Oh, okay. So you're familiar. I think I know you from there. No, just kidding. So if you don't know what Craigslist is, Craigslist is they sell stuff and you can find anything on Craigslist. But in one section of Craigslist, they have a section called the personals, and the personals where you can meet men or women. Men for men, like two men for one. It was just, you can meet, transgendered women, cross-dressers, and I made my first post. And it was a picture of me, and this might be too explicit, but it was a picture of me bent over with my sister's thongs on. And I say this because this was part of my my addiction and where it took me, because I wanted to look sexy. I wanted somebody to want me. I wanted someone who, going through the ads, I seen that people were looking for people with panties or anybody who was wearing panties. And so I literally, would go out and steal my sister's. I don't know where to get my panties. I mean, and they were there. So I would take my sister's panties, a different color every week. And it's funny now, but this is my truth, right? And so I would take a picture of myself with these panties on and post them on Craigslist and say that I was high, I had panties, and I was looking for somebody to come over and that I can host. So when you can host, that means you can have somebody come over to your house. And so I would meet these guys almost every day, every night. And they were turned on that I had panties, and they would bring them to my house faster. And, to be honest, like I would bring guys over and being quiet majority of the time. And, all these guys would come over when I started not to care about who was coming over. And, like one guy came over and he just made like a big commotion. Like he was just, I don't know if he was too high or whatever, but made a big commotion and caused my family to see that there was this guy here, for me. And it was scary for me, and I was already high, and I was already paranoid, and that made me more paranoid. So, like my mom had put a stop to it and locked the gates, so nobody can come in. And so that right there is when it took off. Like that's when my addiction took off, and
So were you having them come over just to meet, or was this like a business arrangement? Was there like...
So I would both. When I, majority of, finding ways and means to get more.
Right.
Yeah. So I would literally dress up for a bag of dope. I would literally do sexual favors for a bag of dope. Like I said, if you had the house and they can come over and comfortably smoke without getting caught or whatever, then they'd bring the dope for you. But it was just bad afterwards.
All right. And so at this point, were you still smoking it?
I was smoking it, but then someone told me that it was better that I snorted it. Like if as much as I did, like it was better to snort it so that I don't look like a tweaker. And so I was snorting it like afterwards. So I didn't smoke it. I would smoke it here and there, but it was just to cover myself that I didn't look like a tweaker, even though I probably did.
Yeah, I'm sure you did.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what happened after your mom locked the gates and you weren't allowed to have people over?
Wow, and that's a good question because it took a toll on me because I wasn't getting high no more. I wasn't like inviting people over, so it was really bad. Like I had to start going out. Like I had to start finding something outside of the home instead of being like comfortable at my home.
In a somewhat safe environment, right?
So again, going off of the Craigslist, I had to get smart, right, about using and this is not to make anybody feel other whatever, but like I decided to dress up like a girl, and I am 6'3", and at the time I was probably like 200 pounds.
Yeah.
I'm a big boy, And I decided that, I was like, oh, let me get this littlest dress, even though it was my mom's muumuu. Like, it was crazy. I thought it was sexy, right? And a bra and some panties and some, like, it wasn't even a wig. It was like it goes for a ponytail. So I don't know if you guys know, but you could buy like a ponytail and put it in your hair.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so you could buy a extension to put on your ponytail. So I thought it was a wig, and I would just clip it into my hair. It was bad. It was bad. It was bad, and it would fall off midway when I meet these guys. But
You trying to pull your hair.
but like I said, finding ways and means to get more. Like, I seen what other girls were doing on Craigslist, and I knew that I can get what I wanted if I just, And I would still meet these guys, and they would either pick me up, or I'd get a room, or they'd get a room, or have a house, like I would, have sex and prostitute myself for drugs, and it got bad It got real bad fast because I became smart. Like I said, I became smart about what I wanted and how to do it. And what I wanted was drugs. I didn't want nobody to hang out with me. I didn't want nobody to. I didn't want nothing else more. Like, I mean, sex, but I would make these guys take me to the drugstore and buy me a bunch of makeup. Like, it was drugstore makeup, and they'd be like, "Do you need anything?" I'm like, "Let's go to the CVS and buy me all this makeup." Because I was perfect. Like, I didn't have all the makeup when I first started, but when these guys started to get like comfortable with me, I would make them buy me this makeup. So here's the thing. So sometimes, like, I would have all the makeup, right? And I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna make this guy go to the store first, anyways, because I would always make him bring me a Gatorade and a water. So I would tell him, okay, we'll go to the store and get me a Gatorade and a water. I'm just gonna wait in the car. And they'd get off, and that's when I would open their glove department or glove compartment, and I would take out their registration, and I would take a picture of their registration, and on your registration it has your address.
Right.
So I would take a picture of that, and it'd say their name, their address. So now I was thinking, like, what if their registration wasn't up to date? But the guys I was with, thank God they were up to date, because I would hang out with them, take their money, do whatever they do. And before they would leave, I would say, whoever's such and such at 1175, blah, blah, blah. Like, if you don't give me $6,000 right now, I'm going to show up to that house. And at first I was really scared when I did it because I didn't know what was going to happen. And I did it, and I got $6,000 instantly.
Extortion.
Yeah.
Blackmail. Okay.
Right. And it scared me in so many ways, but I got what I wanted. And that's where my addiction took me, like, fast thinking, how am I going to get the next one, money. And I was just off and running after that first time. Man.
That's dangerous, bro.
Very.
Yeah.
Very.
You're lucky you got. How many times did you get away with that?
Oh, a lot.
And where'd you come up with $6,000?
It was just
good round number.
It was a good round number, and I would tell them park away from the cameras, at the bank, and yeah. But I was lucky because I did it a lot of times afterwards, and something could have happened.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Someone
could have killed you.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of stuff that could happen for sure.
Yeah. But again, they didn't do things to me that right there and then. It was like I would still post on Craigslist, and I would get these nasty messages. They would post my picture and say that I had bumps on my. They were just so I won't make any money or nobody could meet me anymore. It was horrible. And then. Nobody wanted to meet me afterwards. Nobody wanted to talk to me, or nobody wanted to give me time or day because of that.
So how long did that last for? Like, to where you got to a point where you thought about getting clean?
So it was, there were it was in October of 2018. Well, my first time I got clean was October 2018. So it was in October. They were talking about a big Halloween party that my family was having, and I wanted to go, but they had told me, well, if you're on that stuff, like you can't come. Like we don't want you to, to come to the party. And I was like, okay, well, if I use like a week before the party, and I stop using before the party, I can go to this party. So I had stopped using. Despite everything that I had been doing, like I was just on hold. I didn't think about stopping. Nothing scared me enough to stop. It was just that I wanted to go to this Halloween party. And so I took a break from using meth. And so this break happened to be that I was asleep for like weeks, right? And I even missed the Halloween party. I remember waking up November 2nd, and I know it was. I mean, I woke up off and on to eat, but I remember being in trouble for eating the kids' food. Like, who ate all this? And
So you were back at home.
I was with my sister.
Oh, okay.
I lived with one of my other sisters who also was in active addiction, but they want to say, what's the word? Functioning. Yeah. Nothing functioning about being an addict, right?
No.
But like she had kids and I was eating the food. I was coming down, right? And November 2nd, I wake up and I remember being sick. I remember actually, was it November 2nd? It was November 2nd was, actually I lied. It was October 20th. And then I had went to October 21st. I had went to October 20th. My dates are on my
Somewhere around the end of October.
But I remember I was introduced to Narcotics Anonymous, not even knowing that I was being introduced to it. So I was clean for about a couple of days and still coming down, and then November 2nd hits, and being sick. So I remember my sister telling me, like, if you're gonna call ambulance or 911, you need to go out to the curb. And it was a lot to take myself out to the curb. Nobody helped me. I remember calling 911 and they came, and November 7th, I was diagnosed HIV positive. That was the worst day of my life. Like, I remember actually the doctor coming into the room, and my mom was in the room with me because me and my mom hadn't talked, but she knew that I was sick, and every time I was in the hospital, my mom would show up. And so my mom had showed up, and the doctor came in and said, Mr. Lopez, we would like to, share this diagnosis with you. And I said, okay, go ahead. And he said it in front of my mom, and he said, you're HIV positive. And at first I was shocked. I was like, I didn't know. I was freshly off drugs. Like, I didn't care about anything at that time. And then my mom literally fell down to her knees and started crying. It's so weird because my mom has this laugh that sounds like she's crying. So I don't know, I know she wasn't laughing, but like when I hear her laugh like that, it still brings me back to that day when the doctor diagnosed me HIV positive. And I knew my mom was in pain, so I was hurting because my mom was hurting. Like, to be honest, I wasn't hurting that I got diagnosed HIV positive just yet. And then it took a couple of days. My mom didn't call me. She didn't come back to the hospital. And to be honest, I really didn't know what being HIV positive was. I had all these social workers coming in. I had people, asking if I needed therapy. I just didn't want nothing. All I knew was that I wanted to die. And they put me on a 5150 watch, and I was upset because there was a nurse in the room like 24/7. Yep. And I would fight with everybody. And I was wondering why my mom hasn't came back yet. So then I got out of the hospital like 14 days later, and like my family began to well, when I got home, they were separating like plates and cups, and like I was only allowed to use. We had 2 restrooms. I was only allowed to use 1 restroom, and every time I got out of the restroom, I had to spray it with bleach. And I always mention this because my mom always made sure that we bought the expensive bleach, so that way it could be more, it works better than the cheap bleach. And she said she was just doing that to protect everybody around us. But to be honest, it was very hurtful. It was very hurtful to them separate the real dishes, and I have to use paper plates, and using the restroom. Like, I didn't think I wanted to stay clean after that.
And you weren't really introduced to recovery at this point, right? So like, you have gotten clean. Maybe you hit a meeting or two, maybe not, right? But like, you haven't really gotten to any of the process of a 12-step program. Right?
Exactly.
So, I mean, at this point, I mean, you have no coping skills. Right. You have no life skills. You have no way of dealing with anything internally or externally, right? Right. And, man, I can't even imagine, like, because I've been through stuff under the influence, right? But I always had something in my system, right? Yeah. So, like, if I lose a family, I'm getting loaded, right? If, anything that goes wrong in my life, like, I'm high. Right, I'm under the influence, so that's my coping skill, right? When I get clean, I have no coping skill because the only crutch, the only way I knew how to process anything in my life was getting loaded. Right. So like, I can't even like fathom like going through things like especially something as catastrophic as what you went through, bro. That's a big word, huh? Right.
He doesn't even know how to spell it.
I don't know how to spell it. I don't know if it's a C or a K, but anyway. Let's see. Okay. And so I can't even imagine like being so early in recovery, right? Having to go through something like that, right? Like when they took my kids from me, right? And I was loaded, right? And I still could barely handle that. Right? And then like getting clean, like having that weighing on my shoulders, it wasn't, the only time I got relief was when I got into a program, when I started going to meetings and like really for me, when I got into step work is when like the transformation really started happening in my spirit to where it wasn't so, I mean, it still sucked not being able to talk to my kids, only 1 visit a week, or, the parents are supposed to call me every night so I could talk to my kids, but they don't. And you know what I'm saying? Telling the worker over and over, like they're not calling, right? And so, man, I can't even imagine what you felt like in that moment. And when we go through the stuff like that and when we have a program and a fellowship, like there's people there to love us and support us. Right. And having to go through that alone because you're being shamed by your family. And that's no... Right, like that's no negative condensation to them, because the truth is, man, like, I mean, that's a big diagnosis, and until you know somebody that has it, or until you're faced with that kind of reality, none of us are just researching AIDS. None of us are just researching Hep C. None of us are just researching, you know what I'm saying? I don't know what chlamydia is because I never had it, bro. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what any of these things are because I've never had it, but I promise you, if I had it, then I'm going to do research, right? So it wasn't like they were, because I know your mom, I know your family, right? They love you and they care about you. You're a boy to them, right? But it's really hard to even fathom how much you were going through, right? And I'm going to share real quick because, I mean, I've been sharing, but I want to say something because the first time I ever seen you, right, you had maybe a few months clean, right? And we went to this really big meeting out in Riverside, California, right? It was the basement meeting. It was a Friday, right? Bunch of people there, a stage, right, bro? I had like 5 years, right? And I was frightened of that stage, bro. I think I've been on that stage once out of the, dozen times that I've been there, bro, right? People try to get me up there. I'm like, no. You know what I mean? And, but I remember you going up there in your early recovery, right? First of all, you're hanging out with my best friend. So I was like, who's this dude hanging? You know what I'm saying? Like, who's Mario, right? And I seen you walk up on the stage and you shared about how you were new and how many days you had clean, and you shared about your diagnosis. And I remember kind of like sinking into my chair that day and just thinking like, how courageous. Like that's what attracted me to you, bro. That was that one thing. Like I felt like that day I connected with you on just like a spiritual level without even meeting you, without even knowing you, because I thought to myself, how can somebody with that much time get up there and share his truth like that, right? Regardless of how many people are in this meeting. Yeah. Right. And that shit takes a lot of courage, bro, and a lot of guts, you know what I'm saying? And after that, I mean, we got introduced to each other, we hung out, and you know, now we're
and you
we're
follow
friends,
me around now. Just kidding. No, but that brings me back to from not my family not being educated or myself not being educated. Yeah. Like the only thing in my mind at that time that was probably keeping me together, and I didn't really even know this, is that I remember the program. I remember the rooms of NA, and I went back to a meeting. I went back to that meeting, and I was sitting in the front row of a meeting, and not having a sponsor. I would talk to the girls, and talk to can I have a cigarette? Because I loved smoking your cigarettes and not mine, and I just was with all the girls. And
so what made you go to a meeting?
So I knew because from going to the meetings before I got clean.
Okay.
And so
a friend introduced you?
No, I went into this. I thought it was treatment, but it was sober living. Mm-hmm. And I only lasted there 2 weeks. So, and they made us go one time, and I went, and I thought it was cool, but I don't think I was ready. But I knew there was a place, because I needed to stop using drugs, or else I really was gonna die, and I didn't want to die either. But being in pain from my family doing that with me, and I know they didn't intentionally do it. I think everybody is very uneducated, but I show up to this meeting, and I was in the front row, and I would raise my hand, and not even knowing if I was an addict or not, I was doing what the other person, the other person raised their hand and said their name and called themselves an addict, and I did the same because I just thought that's what you have to do, right? And so I raised my hand and said, Mario, I'm an addict, and I would just burst out in tears. And I would say, I am HIV positive. I don't know what to do. I really want to use today. I'm addicted. I'm addicted to the lifestyle. I'm addicted to sex and, all these things. And, when I first, a lot of people would come and give me hugs and tell me it's okay, but it would be, what would run me out of the meetings, the shit people. I would call them the shit people because they were the ones that didn't want to hang out with me or were mean to me. But those people I know were like shit people, right? And I had to worry about who was really loving me and embracing me in that program that saved my life, and it's saving my life now.
Yeah. And I think we need to understand that in all, period, right? There are people that are going to love you and support you. And there are people who have different character defects and different shortcomings and will judge other people for their character defects and their shortcomings, because I've made some mistakes in recovery. And when I made some mistakes in recovery, they weren't just mistakes. They were big mistakes. Mm-hmm. And you were there for, some of that, right? Yeah. And when I made those mistakes.
Can I tell them? No,
no. We'll talk about that maybe at another time, right? No, the bottom line is I was still an asshole. I was still violent, and I still didn't know how to control my I didn't know how to control anything, right? Yeah. I was still acting out on a lot of behaviors, but it didn't draw a line in the sand per se, but it really opened up my eyes to who was going to be loving and supporting to me no matter what, and who wasn't. And it also taught me that we're all human, we all make mistakes, and that as long as we don't pick up and get loaded, then we have a chance, right? And so it was good for me to make those mistakes because now I get to love other people through their mistakes and say, hey, this is just part of your journey. Some mistakes are necessary, right? And so I like how you said, there's going to be certain people, right? Because we see it with newcomers, right? They go to a meeting and there's one person they don't like. Well, he don't treat me this way or she don't treat me that way. So, so 12 steps doesn't work or this program. Bro, you can't base the whole program off of a few people, right?
Right.
And just because those few people don't, and to get deeper, right? Because just because those few people don't work for you, right? That doesn't mean that those few people don't work for others,
Right.
right? Just because I need certain people in my support group and they wouldn't fit into that for me, that doesn't mean that they don't fit into other people's support group and what they could do for them. You know what I mean? So it's
I've
not.
learned that.
Yeah.
I learned that.
And it's important for us to focus on the people that we do have and the people that do
Exactly.
love us, right? And the people that do care about us, the people we do connect with, not just the past, not just the future, not just because we're at it, but like we connect spiritually, right? There's a difference, right? And so, yeah, I think, so it chased you out of the rooms.
It chased me out of the rooms in the beginning because I didn't have a program. I didn't run my thoughts and what I thought was going on to somebody else, through a sponsor or through my support system, and I would just totally leave and not show up to that meeting again. But it wasn't until and this brings me back to the name of the podcast, Hope. Hearing other people's experience, and a lot of people would tell me, hold on, pain ends, and they would tell me, and I would be like, hold on, pain. Like I didn't think I ever had the strength to hold on for this journey in recovery. I never thought that I would be able to be where I'm at today, 4 years clean. Because that dark place that I was in when I first got here, like I'm no longer there. And that's because I work steps. That's because I have a sponsor. And when I think that someone is like being mean to me or if I go to a meeting and I don't feel like a part of, like I don't make it like an issue. Like I find a different meeting. I find other people to hang out with. I call my sponsor when I think my crazy head's going, So when they told me hold on, pain ends, and like it didn't resonate with me until like probably 3.5 years clean.
Yeah.
Because being in pain was all I knew.
It's funny.
That's so fire.
We were at a meeting and he joked about, I'm never coming to this meeting ever again.
We did that. I have to be careful what I say because I joke around like that sometimes. Yeah. And then my friends would be like, that are in my circle. And, you have to have your circle of friends. Yeah. And well, why aren't you coming back to this meeting? I'm like, well, everybody.
I knew you were joking.
Yeah. Oh, that was you.
Yeah. So, okay. So I'm really glad we're talking about early recovery, right? So at 9 months, your first time around, right? Well, I mean, it's the same time around. Yeah. Right? Because you had a slip up. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, so I had started actively going to meetings now, and I had got 9 months. And like it was weird with my family because my family was like, well, you don't have to stop drinking. You just stop using meth. Right. Like you can drink with us, have a beer with us. So drinking to them seemed like it was okay to do because you don't form a problem. It's not a problem. Right. And so that was in my head. But I knew that I had a head of recovery from, hearing the reading saying alcohol is a drug. And, we start over when we drink and, and I was already painting this picture of Mario. And so what I used to say was like, I don't want nobody to think bad about Mario, And so if I drink, and everybody finds out, then that's, they're going to think I'm a bad person, like I'm a horrible person. People love me now. And I just decided one day that, it was going to be a good idea to take a drink, or buy a drink. And I just opened the beer and I took a drink. And then I got nervous after that. So what I did was I got into the car and I drove it to the next city, threw it out the window and drove back home.
like it's a dead body or something?
Nobody will find it here.
And that's what my head was. But I just quickly learned that, like the insanity of it, right? Like I just used, no matter how much or how little, like I just used, but my conscience was, I didn't know I had one. I didn't know I had a conscience after, 9 months in recovery. But when I took that drink, I heard like recovery, and I heard, alcohol is a drug, and just because it wasn't your problem that but I had took a drink and I tried to go on without telling anybody. I even went to a convention and it just ate at me. And I just couldn't take it no more and I had to tell somebody else. That was in recovery with more time. That works 12 steps because I knew they were the ones who were going to tell me like what needed to be said, you know? And of course they said, start all over. And like I was afraid to get up and tell everybody I took a drink again because I'm trying to save my ass and my face at the same time. Right. My face and my ass at the same time. And as soon as I did, like I was able to recover. Like out loud, like loudly, like you guys, I know you know, but like I love recovery and I am loud about it. And the word loud to me means like I am, if you ask me, I'll tell you. Sometimes I'll just tell you without even asking, you know.
You will.
But when God puts it on, for us, when God puts it on my spirit, like I'll say it. Like, like I've been to a lot of meetings out in the Los Angeles area. Some other 12-step meetings other than NA, but I share my story, and a lot of people will come up to me and tell me how brave I am for telling their story. And, you know, I hope I gave them hope because some of them will come up in tears, and some of them are old. I'm not saying too old, but they're older. I don't know how to say it, but they're older, and they can't share their status. You know, because if coming from a community where I come from, some, you know, other gay members or, you know, we're not nice to each other most of the time. We're not nice to each other some of the times. They put labels on each other. If you're too gay, you're too gay. If you're not manly enough, you're not you know. And HIV is one of them. And being from the Los Angeles area, if you're HIV and have HIV positive and you're doing meth, like you're done. They say, oh, she's done. That means like, oh, like they're talking shit about you. And so for me to come in and share my story openly gives hope for other people that they can share their story too.
You know, it's funny on a lighter note.
What?
You said that in your community, you guys aren't nice to each other, but when they call each other bitch, it's actually like...
No. This is recovery now. We're nicer to each other in recovery because we work steps and we have spiritual principles.
Mostly.
I thought it was a sign of admiration to call your friend bitch.
And if I just be quiet. I won't talk to nobody if they're mean.
And you know, this is for, you know, anybody listening out there that struggled with that, right? Mm-hmm. And what I'm talking about, the struggle, is I'm talking about like having a drink or smoking some weed or you know, before we actually work a program, there's something called a DOC, which is like a drug of choice, right? This is my drug of choice, right? And like when every time I would get clean, besides this time, it was always like I wasn't just an addict. I was a meth addict. I was a pothead. I was a crack, whatever. All these labels, right? And addiction encompasses everything, right? And who knows where you would be right now if you would have stuck with that lie, never got honest, right? Like because it talks about it, right? It says the disease lies in the center of our thinking, bro, right? And one bad decision or one slip up like that can manifest into something way worse than where you would be at, bro.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so it takes a lot of courage and a lot of guts to get up and say, like, I had a drink last night and I got to start my clean time over. Right? It takes a lot of guts, right? A lot of people, like you said, they want to save their face and their ass at the same time, right? But this isn't a save your face program, right? This isn't like, we don't do that. Like, I'm worried about saving my spirit. I'm worried about saving my emotions. I'm worried about saving my mental health. I'm worried about, you know, staying clean. And in order to stay clean, we got to have that honesty, right?
And the majority of people who do that are new people, and they don't know that they can come clean without being knocked down more than what they already are, you know? And that's why they have to keep coming back to a program or whatever they do to realize that, you know, if they make a mistake or, you know, they won't be knocked down more than the way they are.
And if
The
you are
opposite, I think.
Yeah. And if you are being knocked down, then maybe you're hanging out with the wrong people.
Right. Come see me.
No, because I remember I had 6 months and I was drinking, bro, right? And I would go to meetings and I would share, I would collect chips, I would do all that stuff. But in those 6 months, I drank, you know, maybe a handful of times, you know, just at family parties because, Adam, your problem wasn't alcohol, it's meth, like, you're okay. And I believed in that. And I, you know, I thought my problem, if I could just put down the meth, I'll be okay, right? And that's just not my case. tried that study. I, practiced it and it didn't work, right? But I remember having 6 months of quote unquote clean time, right? And
you were brave to lie that long.
Oh, I know. I was just a good addict, bro. And I remember some people at a meeting brought some young guy to me because I was like 23 at the time. So they brought a young guy to me who problem was drinking. And so they say, hey, Adam, here's a young guy. He's trying to get clean. Like, can you talk to him? And he's telling me about how he drinks, bro. And I have no ability or no concept or no, reason, no way to help him because all I could think about is, who the fuck are you?
Dang.
Who the fuck are you, bro? You drank last weekend. You drank last weekend, and you're going to sit here and preach to this guy about how he shouldn't drink? Right? Something inside of me just wouldn't let me do that, bro. And I'm grateful that today, right, I talked about on the podcast, bro, I work in treatment, right? I'm grateful, man. I cannot be that guy that talks about recovery and isn't in recovery. Right? I don't want to be that guy who said, hey, maybe you should go to a meeting. Maybe you should get a sponsor. Maybe you should, live by spiritual principles. And then, I'm going home and just eating. I mean, I'm not saying I don't go home and eat a bag of hot Cheetos. But I'm saying, go home, eat a bag of hot Cheetos, and, do nothing for my personal recovery, bro. I want to be that guy that, they say, the best leaders lead by example, bro. Right? And I want to be that guy, bro. I want to be the guy who leads by example. So,
exactly.
Yeah, I think that was very brave of you. You know what I mean? Who talked to you? Was it George?
Jeff.
Oh, okay.
That's
Jeff.
why he became my sponsor.
Yeah. All right.
And then yeah.
Okay.
All right. So, what does your recovery look like now? What do you do?
Well, like I said, I can recover out loud now. Even when life, right now at this moment, life's happening for me. Life's showing up. And as much as I want to say I want to put a hold on to recovery because, recovery gets in the way of my medical issues because, all this crazy stuff, I've got to remember that I wouldn't be able to be where I'm at today because of recovery and because of what I do in the 12-step program. And literally taking care of myself was something I had to learn. With life happening in my health, I had to learn how to take care. I'm still learning. I'm not, when I make decisions on not taking my medicine, it's prescribed, but I just don't take it at all. And then at the end of the day, I'm sick. So the program that I've learned, I try to, I try to work my program on my health. And it seriously has been working for me. It seriously, I don't have a basic text about it, but
it's the same thing. Powerlessness,
exactly,
unmanageability,
right. And it can come. Recovery that I know of it, how I know of it now, is the same way of my medical condition, and I'm not happy with my medical condition. I'm not really happy, but I'm accepting it. I'm trying not to let it take over me. I'm not trying to let it dictate where I'm at in a active member in society. Right now, I'm letting God has done this to me. God has put this in my life for me to come out of it and be able to be where I'm at. Right, and like I said, the storm. After a storm is a rainbow. No pun intended. But my recovery today is awesome. When I don't want to be in a meeting, I will be in a meeting. Like tonight. What's today? Just kidding. No, I do. I'm actually really tired because I do dialysis a lot. So I try not to do meetings Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. Plus, I had an extra day because, that's beside the point. But my recovery, and when I'm asked to share or lead, I try to, even though when I feel like I don't have something to say majority of the times, because I have been going through something. But, quick story, I was asked to share my story in a Zoom meeting, right? And 10 minutes before, I literally get in a fight with my mom. And it was just bad. And so I called my sponsor. I'm like, look, I can't be of service. Like, I'm just going to quit. Like, not like be of service. And he's like, what does that have to do with your recovery, where you're at in recovery? And I was like, oh, damn. So like, I literally had to like suck it up 5 minutes before the meeting started and share my recovery. Right. And like I did share like my part in it. Like I really don't like always talk about my part. And if we get in an argument, I'm gonna talk about what you did to me, not me, or what I did, right? And that's how I've been. And like the meaning was like the topic was courage. And I said no matter what that I was going through, like I had the courage to still come, and I had to gain the courage to come up and speak on Zoom and tell everybody what my recovery was. It looks like, even if I'm going through something. But I try to do that. I try to be of service to other members, not just the LGBT community, but I have a lot of friends in the LGBT community who call me, who are sometimes actively using still and feel like they're not enough. I don't hang out with them, but I will sit on the phone with you for as long as you need me to. And that's what I do.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Mario, for
You're
coming
welcome.
on. We appreciate it. And we're going to wrap it up here. Is there
Yeah.
any final thoughts?
No final thoughts. We just want to thank you, Mario.
You're welcome.
Right? We love you. We care about you.
Love you too.
Right? I see you in not only in the 12-step community, but the LGBT community, and you're always trying to cultivate that love and that concern and that let's have fun, let's make this exciting, let's do all that. And I think that you are needed in many circles.
Thank you.
So we love you and thank you.
Thank you, Michael, for having me.
Can you spare some hope right now? Lately I've been thinking about this life and how it brought me here. Staring at this man in the mirror, I see him often here. Wipe my tears, only if you knew what I was going through. Only if you walked it in my shoes.
Looking at the skylight, thinking of my life like looking for the right state of mind to get my time right. I just hope my time's right, lost up in the limelight, but you'll never know unless you walked up in my shoes.
As someone who struggled with addiction in the past, how does it feel to be able to give hope to others who are still struggling now?
It's such an honor to be able to hear other people's experiences of life, to see how when faced with the very thing that was sent to destroy you, kill you, and take you out forever didn't, but rather you have been given a second chance to give hope and be a light for those who are still in the dark. So don't be afraid to share your message to the world. You never know whose life you might be saving.